Shalom, David Akef.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into an incredibly profound concept derived from the Shalom David Archive, which is this rich collection of insights into human behavior. We're going to explore the architecture of the human mind, and specifically the systems of mental control that silently govern our everyday lives. We're talking about the ultimate unseen barrier to human potential.
Think about it. Throughout human history, there have always been prisons, right? We're talking about prisons built from physical steel, heavy bars, thick locks, all intentionally designed to keep human beings locked down in one specific geographical space.
Then you've got those massive prisons built out of solid concrete, towering walls, heavy surveillance, guarded by people carrying weapons. You know, the physical cages we all instantly recognize. But what if I told you that the absolute most powerful cages in human history don't actually have walls at all? They've literally never required locks, and they definitely don't need armed guards. These prisons exist completely unseen, built entirely inside the human mind.
The source material defines this perfectly. It calls it the invisible prison, a mental cage made up of beliefs you just never questioned, fears you haven't confronted, and an identity you essentially inherited, but never actually chose for yourself. And honestly, the biggest tragedy here isn't just that this prison exists, it's that millions of people spend their entire lives stuck inside this invisible architecture, completely unaware that they're even prisoners.
You see, we tend to look at our daily actions and totally mistake them for liberty. I mean, we wake up, go to work, and follow our little routines. We chase approval, soak up information, repeat opinions we didn't even come up with, and fiercely defend ideas we just kind of absorbed. And the real trap? We actually call that whole cycle freedom. So that brings us to a really fundamental question, and I want you to genuinely ask yourself this right now. Am I living by conscious choice, or am I simply following a program that was installed inside me? Because here's the kicker. You can be physically free, walking around wherever you please, while still dragging around invisible chains in your thinking.
Okay, so the very first battle here is simply awareness. Before a warrior can take down an enemy, they've got to actually identify who the enemy is. Before a strategist can win a war, they absolutely have to understand the true battlefield.
And we see this illusion of change all the time in human behavior, right? People desperately try to fix their lives by changing their outside circumstances. They pack up and move to new locations, jump into new jobs, start new relationships, totally shift their environments. But they carry the exact same mind into every single one of those new situations. And since the real battlefield was always on the inside, those exact same painful patterns just inevitably keep coming back. Ancient philosophers actually hit the nail on the head with this one. If you don't understand yourself, you are so easily controlled by your emotions, impulses, fear of rejection, or just a desire to be comfortable. You essentially become a passenger in your own life. Moving through life without internal self-awareness is like trying to drive a car when you don't know what the pedals do. It's crucial to remember, movement is not progress, activity is not purpose, and noise is definitely not meaning. So how do we even get into this state? Well, we have to look at the programming we didn't choose. And this is a fascinating, honestly kind of startling fact about human psychology. Experts suggest that our core belief system is largely locked in by the time we're just 7 years old. From the literal second we enter this world, we start downloading instructions and beliefs from our surroundings. We don't choose those first beliefs, we just inherit them from the people who raised us. Sure, we download a lot of necessary, really useful stuff. Things like language, culture, and basic survival skills. But right alongside all that good stuff, quietly operating in the background, we absorb some seriously toxic limits. We take on borrowed fears, skewed messages about what success looks like, and inherited boundaries that were drawn by people who never even pushed past them themselves. So the million-dollar question, how do we break out? Liberation isn't about being arrogant or just rebelling for the sake of it. It's about deep examination. A truly disciplined mind uses specific tools for liberation. You have to ask yourself, where did this belief actually come from? Is this even true? And does this idea expand my potential or does it shrink it? That is exactly how you start untangling actual truth from the societal programming you've been carrying around. Let's put this into practice. What actually happens when two totally different people face the exact same terrible circumstances? The source text sets up this incredibly powerful contrast, calling it the builder versus the acceptor. The difference here is mind-blowing. And by the way, it has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence. It is 100% about their mental framework. The acceptor goes through hardship and immediately concludes, well, the world is against me. They hit an obstacle and see failure as hard proof of their limits. Like the acceptor loses a job and decides they're just inherently unhireable. But the builder? The builder goes through that exact same hardship and thinks, okay, this environment is my starting point, not my final destination. They lose the exact same job, but see it as the final push they needed to go start their own business. They see opportunities and they treat failure purely as data, just information to use for next time.
It's a complete step-by-step cascade that dictates how our lives unfold, and it all starts with that internal framework. Check this out. Your interpretation of an event shapes your action. Your repeated actions eventually shape your habits. Those habits solidify into your core identity. And finally, that identity absolutely shapes your destiny.
Because at the end of the day, the mind is the ultimate command center. Literally every physical achievement, every massive empire, every game-changing invention, and every personal transformation, it all starts as an internal decision. Just a thought. Whoever is controlling that command center is the one steering the entire ship.
So I think it's time to break some mental chains. Before we wrap up this explainer today, I want to issue a challenge. I want you to really stop and interrogate your own internal architecture.
Let's just slow down for a second. Think about it. What invisible prisons exist in your life right now? What fundamental assumptions have you just blindly accepted as fact, without ever pausing to question if they're actually true? What fears have turned into strict rules that govern your life? Think about the opinions you fiercely, intensely defend. Are they really yours? Or are they the very limitations that are keeping you stuck from moving forward? And here's the ultimate, kind of uncomfortable, confrontational question. Are you fiercely protecting a version of yourself, an identity, that you've actually already outgrown? Because the hard truth is, sometimes the enemy holding back your growth isn't out there in the world at all. Sometimes it's literally just an old identity that you refuse to let go of. I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought from the archive. Sometimes the cage door is open, but you have lived inside the cage for so long that freedom feels unfamiliar. It's a heavy realization, isn't it? The door is wide open. The only real question left is, are you finally ready to step out? Thanks for joining me for this explainer today.
Shalom, David Akev.